Kahil Gibran wrote a book called The Prophet. Anyway, the book is a basic plot of a man has been exiled for the last 12 years, and a ship has come to take him home to where he was born. So he is walking through a town, and the townspeople stop him and ask him questions, and he answers. Each answer, it takes the form of a standalone poem, which is one reason I really do like the book, is because each chapter on its own is completely like it can completely stand on its own, in the sense that you don't have to read the whole book. Like if you've been thinking about giving, you can just go on a chapter on giving and read. Then said a rich man, "Speak to us of giving." And he answered, "You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give." It was a few months ago. I was sitting in the Mineola library wanting to read a poetry book. So I went to the poetry section, and there wasn't a lot that really grabbed my attention. But The Prophet by Kahil Gibran grabbed my attention. The main reason is because I had seen quotes from it before, and I really enjoyed some of the quotes from it. So I decided to go ahead and give it a read. It's a little over 100 pages, so a pretty easy, short read. So I sat in the library for probably about an hour and a half reading it. I ended up not quite finishing it because I had to go meet some friends to go to an art museum. But there were times when it was very boring. I'll just say it. It's a book that you shouldn't expect good things from, because its ability to be good on its own isn't really there. Where it stands apart from other books is its ability to make, for me to reflect on things I wouldn't otherwise be thinking about. That's why it's good. So there's things in it, and the reason why portions of it didn't really speak to me in any really meaningful, deep way is because it's things that I don't really think about. For example, marriage, on children, things like that. Like, I don't have children, so it's not something to think about. Anyway, I do actually really like that poem. So I think that it's a book you should read, but it's a book you can't just sit down and read because, like, oh, I should read a book. It's a book you have to read with the intention of reflecting on the things it talks about. And so it's a book you don't go into lightly, but it's also not like a super hard read where you have to, have like the perfect mental state to do it. Like, it's approachable, but at the same time, your mindset has to be kind of like it has to be right. It's not a book you would read when you're like really sleepy. It's a book you can read before going to bed, but if you're just exhausted, probably just go to sleep, man. But it's definitely a good book, and I recommend reading it. Poetry is kind of a hard thing to critique because kind of the beauty of it is in the words themselves, so you just kind of have to experience it yourself. So I recommend reading it. Shortly after reading it the second time, I came to realize that there was actually a movie made in 2015, and it's strange to think that there's a movie based on this book, because there isn't a plot. I mean, the plot is so minuscule in the book. But so I watched the movie last night, and I must say it is actually it's really good. They add kind of a surrounding plot that really, in my opinion, works really well. It elevates some of the poems that they choose, because they don't use all of them. I think there's 10 maybe, but it elevates it. Like, for example, on the poem On Children, you actually know the character, the mother that asks a question, so it really can kind of helps. There's changes made to the story, but to me the story is such a small role in the book that even like the biggest fans of the book shouldn't be offended at all by the changes. It's a rare adaptation in that I don't think it's neither better nor worse than the book. Usually you have a movie that's based on a book, the book's better, On some occasions, the movie's better than the book. The Book Thief is an example of that. And yeah, with this one, I don't think I can say the book is better than the movie. The movie is the movie is completely different. It's a completely different experience, and I think it works well. There's like a few critiques I do have with the movie. It's really beautifully animated and it adds humor. What I like about the movie is that it is, very family oriented. Something some kids would like. So I think it's a good introduction to the poems of Kahil Gibran, which I think it's definitely worth reading. Even if you don't like poetry, I think you should give it a shot. Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is who plays the main character, and having him read these poems is absolutely wonderful. He was a great choice, and I have to say, one thing I really liked about the movie is so each of the poems scenes, whenever a poem is being read, was directed and animated by a different team. So you get tons of variation in animation styles and even like cultural influences. So like one of them is like very clearly influenced by like India. One of them very clearly influenced by Latin American culture. So I really liked that aspect of it. It kind of made it into a world film, which I think kind of speaks to the fact that this book isn't so much bound by culture that it's only one culture that can appreciate it, because it's really just kind of anybody who's living a human life can appreciate this book. It probably sounds really weird to say, but the book isn't good. Its ability to speak to wisdom that's already there that really makes it worthwhile. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that's about all I have to say. So, read the book, watch the movie. The movie's currently on Netflix. I don't know how long it'll stay there. Hopefully a while. Unfortunately, the movie had a budget of $12 million and didn't even make $1 million. I will leave you with a poem. Two of my favorites in the book are on friendship and on talking. I really love those. I'll leave you with this. There are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. The silence of aloneness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. And there are those who talk, and without knowledge or forethought, reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand. And there are those who have the truth within them, but they tell it not in words. I need to shut up, don't I?
Love will crown and crucify you. Love for your growth, so he is for your pruning. Love will caress your tenderest branches.